Shamangelic Healing podcast is designed as a platform to share authentic conversations about real life issues, providing you with valuable resources and tools to support you in shining your most authentic self, creating a thriving life that you absolutely love, and to support you in manifesting your soul's mission. Welcome to this episode of the Shamangelic Healing podcast with your hostess, Anahata Ananda. Today, my guest, my dear sweet soul sister, is Taylor Stone. She is a former NFL cheerleader and really passionate about the mind-body connection and vibrant health. And I'm so happy to have her here. We're going to explore this subject of healing through the mind, body, and connection. And we just had so much fun. I know there's a lot of tips that you're going to love through this podcast, so check it out. Welcome to the Shamangelic Healing podcast with Anahata Ananda. And I'm so tickled to have Taylor Stone here today. And we're going to really explore healing through the mind, body, connection. And I just adore you, sister.
So good to be back.
Yeah.
So good to be back.
We met a couple years ago.
Yes.
When you came here to Sedona on one of the retreats that I facilitated, and we just kind of fell in love, and I was just so inspired by your light and your passion, and also everything that you're doing to really help people navigate through their health challenges and really find their voice and their power and thrive in life. So good to have you back, and so grateful that you're so close, you know.
I know, it's like just a little hop over the mountain.
Right.
So perfect.
So just an hour and a half away, and so grateful that you're here. And
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and jumping into that journey and doing, the week-long, retreat that you had, it's been a huge part of my life since then. I mean, it's opened up so many doors of things that I didn't even know existed, and so thank you for having us, and we've been back multiple times since, and it's just a blessing.
Yes, we're going to keep diving deep and rising helping each other to rise up and be stronger, and your medicine helps me, and I hope mine helps you, and this is where we kind of stand stronger in life together when we, give ourselves permission to learn and keep growing. So, all right, so why is the mind-body connection so important to you, and what has been your journey of why this is such a passion for you?
So my background, I am a dancer, and I was an NFL cheerleader for about 3 years. And through that journey, it was a lot of do, working out, weighing your food, nutrition, all of that, which is important to an extent. But I got very obsessed with that I was not focusing on anything in terms of my soul, on my mindset, on my stress levels and all of that. And so I started to develop a lot of health issues during and post, season, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, right? Like I was like, I'm eating healthy, I'm not doing this. And I had to really just put these pieces together of what is my body screaming for? Because that's what symptoms are. And that's the number one thing I want women and men to understand, is that a symptom is a cry for help. It's your body saying, hey, I need help. Like, look at me, address me, right? And it's not always a supplement. It's not always the food that you're eating, but it's it's the integration of your mind, your body, your soul, and really just working with all of those together.
Right. And the cries for help, a lot of times we don't understand those. We're like, oh, there's pain, just take a painkiller.
We mask it, right? Like we either will spiritually bypass it and try to distract ourselves and say, oh, if we just close our eyes, it'll go away. But that just makes it worse. And it wasn't until I really started researching and finding out, okay, what can I do to get my body in alignment to really start to heal itself? Because our body is equipped to heal itself. Most of the time we have to get out of our own way, right? And so it was through, a lot of the healing that we'll talk about that I was really able to say, oh, and I had my aha moment and realized that I was putting too much focus on the material, right?
Well, and isn't that so common in competitive sports or activities with an NFL cheerleader? You're in the limelight, your body's how you look.
Aesthetic. That was it. That's all I cared about at the time.
And it's socially reinforced because you get to come back the next year if you look a certain way, and you don't if you don't. And so I want to address for those people listening or watching that have been in a similar industry, whether that's in the media in some way, or whether that's with a competitive sport or something that requires, modeling. I have clients that are professional athletes. I have clients that are actors. I have clients that are models and are dealing with some of these same issues around, mistreating the body to perform in a certain way that isn't necessarily sustainable. And then it's socially reinforced by the industry. Oh, look at you, you're only 92 pounds. And you're like, yeah, but that isn't necessarily healthy.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's the social media, of course. It's a blessing because there's so many amazing things that come from that, but it's the comparison. It's I need to be this certain way in order for me to look this way. And the pressure, right? Especially as being a woman, you do want to look a certain way, but not at the in the way that you are doing harm to yourself long term. And that was a big realization for me of, wait a second, if I keep on this path, then I am not going to heal. I'm just going to keep regressing. Right. And that's where the big wake-up call has to come.
Between body issues and eating disorders, and that can very much, and it can happen at a very young age as well, where you don't need to be in a professional career that is creating this pressure, because just, being 12 creates this pressure of looking a certain way and fitting into jeans or getting the attention of boys or girls. I mean, it actually starts pretty young. And so, so I just want to acknowledge that, all of us in some ways it's not uncommon for us to be dealing with some kind of disconnection between our mind and our body, and having a challenge with our health at the expense of trying to be accepted and fit in. What is something that is an indication of when the mind and the body are kind of disconnected? What does that look like? What does it feel like? What is that?
So the number one thing when I think of that, I think of a loss of joy. I think of losing that trust in the universe, in yourself, and just not feeling that peace with yourself, and not waking up filled with excitement. And it's very possible, and I know that because I've felt that, where I've woken up and I'm like, oh, another day of struggling, right? And so for me, it's losing, or maybe never having that, right? Which is even, it just, my heart goes out to a lot of women who have never woken up and felt excited for the day and just really wanted to live their life. And so it's lack of joy, it's lack of, having any type of direction, connection with your soul, not feeling like you have to always be doing, and just being with yourself, and being okay to be alone with yourself, and not having to have noise going on all the time, like I mentioned, the spiritual bypassing of distraction. So that to me is the connection. It's where you're just at peace with yourself. You feel joy, and you're just in yourself, in your body.
So what I'm hearing is that if you're feeling anxiety upon waking in the day and you don't love your life, that those are probably indications that there's some disconnection between mind and body. And that the soul is not being nourished in ways. And so it might look externally like there's success. If you're like, well, I look this way, and I have this job, and I have this partner, and I'm making this money, or there's external success, but that is not necessarily where you're joyful and soulful.
Right.
One of the things that with my clients come when I see a mind-body connection is definitely some indication that there's some disease, chronic pain, definitely challenges with digestion or stress, anxiety, insomnia, all of them. Right? I mean, it really is just disease is dis-ease, not being able to, like you said earlier, being at ease with self and not knowing how to be comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
And so I think a lot of that disconnection between mind and body shows up in the body's cries for help, like you're saying, hey, there's the body is trying to give a communication that says, I'm in pain because there's something wrong.
Right.
Or my emotional body, I'm depressed because something isn't in alignment. I'm not really happy because my soul isn't really following its natural, mission and path. So What else might that look like besides depression or disconnection or anxiety? Are there any other things that your clients deal with?
I'm thinking, like, as you're saying that, I'm thinking of just the things that I went through. And I can remember a time where, when you spoke about emotional body, a lot of times we hold that in so much. And expression is beautiful because emotion's not right or wrong, right? Like, emotion is just neutral. And so when you start to feel the feelings that you're feeling, whether it's joy, happiness, anger, regret, all of those, you have to feel them out or they get trapped in your body. And that's where that energy medicine, energy, healing comes in, because we're not expressing it. So I always tell my clients that a lot of it is letting go of things. It's not always adding back in. It's getting honest with yourself and saying, what is serving me? Take an audit list of your life, of the things that are bringing you joy. What is the vibe that I'm putting myself around? Because a lot of it is not creating powerful boundaries. And so I think when we change our mindset from nourishment as only being caloric, and we change it to what is actually nourishing me on a soul level, that's when the shift really changes. And I had to really, and it was hard for me, and we're both fire signs. I'm Leo, you're an Aries. So it's like, I'm like, do, go. And I had to really practice doing grounding outside and really practice meditation and really just saying, this is part of your healing, Taylor. This is part of it. And that was when things started to click quicker than I could have imagined.
When I think when you slow down, you get to feel those emotions that maybe have been stuffed from childhood or from a trauma.
And it's scary.
It's scary and it's uncomfortable. And no wonder we want to keep doing the doing. No wonder we want to keep being distracted or sedating or ignoring, because that's just an avoidance to not really maybe being ready or having the tools to go into the emotional issues that might be hiding way down inside, that is, part of the disconnection between the mind and body, is that there may be an emotional connection to our disease or our ailment or our digestion problems or high blood pressure, is that I don't feel safe, I don't feel loved, I'm sad, and not really in the past having that support.
And judging yourself of that. Yeah, and that, I think holding like that container and that space for other women is just, it's very important, that
and
letting them know it's okay.
Right, and men too. Because I think so much of that is, men programmed, don't feel, don't cry, don't express, even more so than women.
Right, that's very true. And
that, a lot of that oppression that is, kind of societally says, don't feel, don't cry, don't do that, especially for men. And I think for all of us, just learning how to create those containers where we can feel that emotional support, so that any of that stuck energy that is causing disease in our physical body, or ailments, or high blood pressure, or adrenal fatigue, or any conditions that are kind of more chronic, including depression and anxiety, and that holding space for that emotional chaos is what helps it to release.
Honoring the release. I mean, that's really what it is, that you're releasing what isn't serving you. And that's really, you can get it out in other ways, but that is that it's free, right? It's free to get it out. And it's the best way, in my opinion, to really just release those things that are inside of you that will help you to heal. That's ultimately what it is.
So that's one of your techniques. If we go through some techniques that people can choose or engage to help them reconnect the mind-body connection, what I'm hearing is emotional release is one of those.
Definitely. Emotional release, I would say meditation has been one of the biggest ones for me. Joe Dispenza, we've talked about him. Right. EFT tapping, I think is huge, which is emotional freedom technique, where it involves tapping on different meridians on your body that connects to your amygdala, and it just helps for you to release, and it's very simple. And breath work. I mean, so the first time I did breath work was with Anahata, and it was just a magical experience. And in the time you're like, or while you're in it, you're like, what is going on? But then when you're done, you just feel like this release, and it's so beautiful. And it really just gets, I mean, you'd probably be better to explain exactly what that is, but that is something that I recommend to so many clients to do.
Well, what that is, for those that don't know, that are listening or watching, the what I call Shamangelic Breathing is really directing the breath to go down into the emotional centers of the body and clear out the stuff that is in the way of your health, your well-being, your joy, your creativity, your passion, your love, yourself. And so that's one of those ways that kind of helps to release the emotional density that is keeping the mind and body connection blocked. So absolutely, I think emotional clearing and looking at the issues there is vital, I think, to bridging a calm mind and a healthy body. Meditation for sure is one of my favorites. And especially like with go, go, go. And you don't just need to be a fire sign to be obsessively active.
It's very true.
On go, go,
Majority
go.
of people, yeah.
I think our culture right now is just so busy with being busy and so obsessed with being distracted and that we really are programmed not to sit still. And there's a lot of judgment around, oh, I'm just going to relax and read a book, or, you know, I don't have plans for this afternoon. You know, you don't have plans for this afternoon. Like, no, I don't have plans. I don't have anything.
Wow, you're lazy.
Scheduled.
Right.
There can be the judgment that when you're relaxing, that you're lazy, there's something wrong with you, you're not getting things done. There can be a lot of guilt and shame and pressure to always be producing.
Well, that's the other piece too. It's like women, you know, we have to make sure we have that polarity between the masculine and the feminine. You know, I have very much been in my masculine a lot of my life. And so that creates a lot of a discord and hormonal issues and adrenal issues and all kinds of stuff, right? And so for me, that was another light bulb that went off during my journey of it's okay to slow down. It's okay to be in your feminine and just be. And that's really when that creation process actually does start to shift.
Right. Being still, I think that most of humanity has, you know, most of us, especially in Western culture, has a struggle, men and women, learning how to just exhale. We're kind of go all the time. And to me, that's one of my favorite techniques of connecting the mind and body is to just, you know, in addition to the shamanic breathing and emotional clearing, is just that deep inhale and exhale to bring me center, because I find it does feel good.
Really good.
And so everybody listening and watching, you can do this in a car to just deeply inhale and like deeply exhale, and it does.
Feels so good.
It does feel so good, and I think that, you know, one inhale and exhale is woefully insufficient after decades of, you know, running 100 million miles an hour.
Yeah.
And it's not uncommon when you're juggling a family and a business and all these other, you know, responsibilities in life to feel like there's never an opportunity to sit down. There's always dishes to wash. There's always, you know, something to do on the to-do list. I know I was raised with a to-do list, you know, and I'm still pretty connected to my to-do list, truth time. And as long as it's not running my value and my worth, as long as I can say there's nothing to do.
Exactly.
Even if there's things to
wait
do.
Till tomorrow.
Like I can say that the to-do list is not running my day right now, and I just get to inhale and exhale and come into a listening space so that I can hear, where is my soul hungry? What am I feeling? And what does my body need? Those are the three questions that really help me.
Checking in with yourself multiple times a day. I actually put a reminder in my phone just to check in with myself. We all need it, where it's like, are you here? Are you in your body? Are you grounded? And when you mentioned, you know, even if you're in your car, you can take the deep breaths. I think demystifying meditation is really good for people. Same thing with visualizations. Yeah. You know, for me, it was saying it's okay to do a meditation laying down. It's okay to do a meditation walking. Right. It's okay to do it while, you know, you don't want to be too distracted, but you want to not have to feel like you have to be sitting while you're doing it, and kind of put your own flavor to it. You know, make it fun. Make it something that you want to do, not something that you feel like you need to be like, you know,
I mean, you don't have to be in full lotus with your legs folded up on each other. It's so funny
when daunting when you put it that way, right?
I was, you know, teaching a meditation course years ago when my mom was attending, and she goes, "My legs just don't fit like that, so I guess I can't meditate." And I'm like, "Oh, honey, mommy, you can do that sitting in a chair." Yeah. You know, and she goes, "I can. That's still meditation." And really just having your spine upright helps so that you can open the diaphragm to breathe, and so that prana or chi or life force is moving through the the channel, which is your spine, where all the chakras are aligning. And so just as long as you're more upright, then you can take in the breath more and it's more relaxing. And the other piece of that is that meditation actually helps bridge us into the parasympathetic nervous system. Right. When we're in this everyday go, 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 we're in the sympathetic nervous system.
Fight or flight. Yeah.
Fight or flight. When's the next thing? What do I have to do next?
Like
and
just
go,
over.
Right? Reaction, reaction,
yeah.
go, go, go. Fix, fix, fix. Rescue, rescue. And the sympathetic nervous system is activated when there's no doing, and like you said earlier, there's just the being.
Yeah.
There's no effort, there's no thought. And I know that's really challenging when you first get started. I know it was for me. It's like, okay, I sat still for 3 seconds, now what?
And that's how it has to start. I did it for like 2 minutes, and I was like, wow, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, like, oh, that was consecutive.
Yeah.
Those are 2 consecutive minutes. And just starting to just sit still for a moment. And one of my clients, he's like, look, I was diagnosed ADD and bouncing off the walls as a kid and on all kinds of medication because of not being able to sit still and focus and study and all of that. And he goes, look, if I can learn how to meditate, right. then there's hope for anybody. Yeah. And he like that really helped him balance, and it's really helped me balance, and it sounds like it's done the same for you.
Absolutely.
And if you're having trouble with learning how to meditate, that's okay. We're going to give some tips, about that. But that's so valuable, just to move into the parasympathetic nervous system, because what's happening in that is that the body's natural healing abilities starts to get turns on. That's when our inner doctor and our inner
cleans
nurse
up. It starts to clean up.
Right, and it goes in and says, okay, what cells need to be detoxified, which ones are damaged, where is their scar tissue, where do we need circulation, where do we need to rebuild, what do we need to move, nutrients and minerals or hormones, do we need to move in or out of the body somewhere? And if we're go, go, go and getting 3 hours of sleep, then the body never goes into that state, and so we're automatically no regeneration.
Yeah, no, that was probably one of the number one things that really just helped me to go in, and then also just to listen, to get the guidance, the intuition, the downloads, whatever you want to call that, of what's the next step. A lot of women will ask me, how do I listen to my intuition more? And it's like, you have to stop doing anything. Even when you're in your car, if you normally listen to music or podcasts, listen, just be still, and it will come, and you'll see the right things that you need to see and take inspired action. And that's more going into manifestation, but it also works with a question that you're asking that you're in dire need for, and it will show up. There's no other choice but for it to show up to you.
I think that's really one of my favorite things there in reconnecting that mind and body, and even if we add heart and soul to that, is to ask these questions. What is my physical body trying to tell me right now? Does it need something? Does it need water? Does it need rest? Does it need minerals? Does it need to cleanse? And then asking, what message does my soul have for me right now? Is it trying to get through, to get me to make a change, to move in a different direction? Is there some inspiration that's coming in that I'm blocking? Is there some change that is keeping me from moving into my greatness? And then, what is my heart feeling? Yeah. What does my heart know right now? And then the other question is, what does my inner child have to say about all of this? And are they sad? Are they feeling alone? Have they not been playing? And so I feel like those questions help me to just journal those every once in a while.
Journaling is great too.
How am I doing in these different areas? Because the phone is not going to answer those questions for me. Instagram will not answer.
WebMD. No, I've done that for years, so I can tell you that it doesn't. Yeah.
And I think the most important person on your healing team is you.
So good.
Of course we want to add a nutritionist or something that in an area of expertise maybe that you're not so good at. Maybe somebody with fitness or a meditation class or something like that if you're needing some help. But and getting some help with a particular ailment, specialists and all of that, or support with emotional clearing. But also, want to make sure that I'm the primary practitioner on my team?
It's really just being able to be open to your own information. And, we ask, but we forget to receive sometimes. And you can't get that or know that it's correct information or where it's coming from until you get in that stillness. And that is just so amazing when you actually can distinguish between the answer or, something different, that this is the truth. This is what I need to know. And exactly like you said, checking in with your child, checking in with your entire body, not listening, Jessica, your great friend is great for support, but her advice might not be your medicine.
Right.
Like that's another, thing that we have to address.
And your doctor too might
Right.
be, if we're looking at more holistic approaches, a doctor might not be looking at your nutrition, might not be looking at your emotional health, might not be looking at lifestyle. And so even though with well-intentioned friends, colleagues, even healthcare practitioners might not actually be looking at the full picture. And when you drop into that stillness and that silence, like you mentioned, the big picture presents itself. And we might be able to see information, receive information that we wouldn't otherwise get.
Oh, that's so good. Summing it up right there.
Right?
That's so good.
Any other things that really help that you're helping your clients with that are deepening their mind-body connection or helping them recover from an ailment or disease or challenges that they're dealing with in their body?
The number one thing that I even ask myself when I'm maybe struggling with something is that you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. And so...
Okay, well, say it again. Okay. Nice and slow, nice and loud.
You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. And that is so key in your healing process, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, because what happens is we try to address certain situations when we're still in that same situation that made us ill, whether it's a bad relationship, whether it's you're still exposing yourself to substances of, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's binge eating, things like that. And it's really doing like Marie Kondoing everything, right? Like cleaning up. Marie Kondo it, right? Clean up your energy. And that, again, you have to ask yourself, like, the people, the places, the things, the habits that you're doing. And that's in the reprogramming. It's reprogramming. Hypnosis has been huge, speaking of really just connecting your mind to your body, because if your subconscious has been operating a certain way from 0 to 7, you have to reprogram that. Like there's really no other way. That's the easiest way to reprogram a habit. So
or 0 to 20, 30, exactly. 40, 50, 60, 70,
We're always
80,
getting this energy.
Right? Because even 30, 40, 50, 60 years into your life experience, you can rewrite the story that says, if this environment, and I love that you said that you can't heal in the environment that made you sick, then we get to question, is this substance, is this daily habit, even though it's a daily habit and I've always just woken and had a cup of
stories
coffee,
we tell ourselves,
or I've stayed in an unhealthy relationship just because it's familiar, or I'm playing small, or I'm not speaking my voice, or I'm too embarrassed to ask for help about a trauma that happened long ago or yesterday, and the courage to actually go towards those experiences and make some change so that the health that I'm saying yes to, what habits will support the health that I'm saying yes to? And do I need better sleep? That's a big one.
That's a huge one.
I think that's super underestimated, especially with the electronics and stimulation, where Netflix is happening till 2 a.m. We're watching our screens, whether it's this little screen, a big, a computer screen, a TV screen, or the big screen. Is that it's stimulating
constant, the blue light, the suppression of melatonin, that's big. And for me and even Tommy, we both appreciate our sleep so much because we know what it feels like to feel so good and on fire and inspired and creative, that when we miss a certain amount of sleep, we feel it. Right? And so you want everyone to realize what that feels like, to be in this state of, again, feeling the joy, feeling aligned, feeling excited for life. And that is huge. Turning your phone off, either on airplane mode or not touching it. I would even say 2 hours to an hour before you go to bed.
Definitely. I have this alarm set on my phone at like 8:30 every night that says, okay, bring it down. turn off electronics, lower the lights, because the stimulation we get with light therapy from all of the lights coming off of our computer is telling our brain that it's still daytime at 12 at night. So that affects our ability to experience deep sleep, which is when the parasympathetic nervous system turns on to heal and rejuvenate and rest and balance our hormones and heal the cells. And so we're actually stealing from the end of our life.
Yeah, I think that's the good way to put it.
I know, I was just thinking about that today. It's like, staying up late. When I do that, like we do that every once in a while, that's fine. But if it's a chronic habit, then we're robbing ourselves of the opportunity to replenish, which is really just stealing from our energy and robbing from our energy of the day, but it's also stealing years at the end.
Well, and I like what you said about courage, that it takes courage, because it does. Like, anytime you go into the unknown, it's going to be scary. And one thing I always like to say over and over and over again is, don't put me on a pedestal for my habits. I'm not special, I'm practiced, right? And the same thing with you. Like, you put a reminder in your phone. I still have reminders in my phone for a lot of things that are not yet a habit. Right. So don't feel bad that you are reminding yourself, putting Post-it notes. I mean, I am so, when I said a habit, I want to really, ingrain it, that I'm not embarrassed that I have to do that, because I want my life to improve and to get better all the time. And so not making it to where, just telling yourself like, oh, well, she's probably always been that way.
Not the case.
Never do that to anybody.
Right?
You never know what's going on.
And it takes, especially if there's been some programming to go or do all the time for decades. In the neural pathways of the brain, it takes longer than a minute or one reminder or one intention that says, I'm going to break that habit, because that habit has become a subconscious driving force in your everyday choices, and we don't even realize that we default to these things. And installing a new habit takes time and persistence, and you're going to fall off. You're going to be great at it for a week or a month, and then you'll get off track.
The contrast will happen.
Exactly. So something
jump back on.
Yeah. And then we get to be gentle and get back into that and be compassionate during that process.
That's important. That's very important to this process. Yeah.
So that we're compassionate as we're building the new neural pathways in the brain, where the habit of going to bed earlier, and the habit of self-care, and the habit of reaching for a green juice instead of a stimulant, or the habit of reaching for meditation in the morning instead of the phone, takes time to navigate off of that. And so I think that's super important, that in the journey, the mind-body in connection through the heart is bridged with compassion and tenderness. Still accountability for where there's opportunities to maybe get some support. Like maybe you need an accountability buddy, maybe you need a coach or somebody to help you create structures that build those new patterns, or help you break a habit with smoking or alcohol or something that might be a little bit more challenging to break. That it's also not to feel ashamed to ask for help.
It's that ego personality trying to check in, saying you don't need that. Yeah, you're good.
Right. And if that's the case, then the disease should disappear.
Exactly.
Then
that would,
the depression,
the
anxiety, whatever the
asking for help,
whatever that is, would be dissolved by now. And so I think that's really part of that humility and tenderness, to say, I might not be able to kick this myself. I might need a coach. I might need an expert. I might need an accountability person, or somebody else to help me with some structure.
Because what's the alternative? You just deal with it. I think that's one of the things that women especially are just like, well, I'm just going to deal with this because I've had this my whole life. That's a story that you're telling yourself, that you may have had this issue going on since you were 10 years old, but that does not mean that you have to live with it for the rest of your life. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, that's a story that we tell ourselves. And I've had those things where I've had to say, look,
I can rewrite this.
Right. And not just saying, well, I'm just going to deal with it. Yeah, I'm just going to deal with it. And that is such a low vibration state that you're not realizing that it's going to affect everything in your life, from manifestation to attracting things into your life. When you connect the mind and body, that is when you start to really just have magic to show up in your life. So not that should be the incentive, but it is, because you can't have the healing of the body, the connection, the heart coherence, and not have anything else happen to you. It just does not happen. It can't not happen.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that you shared that because this gives us the opportunity to really step into take control of our life again. That just says this, oh, well, this disease runs in my family, and so therefore it's what I have to deal with. And this is where the mind can be part of the problem when it's connecting to the body, is because we're connecting old patterns, limiting beliefs, status quo, there's not enough, this is just how it is, scarcity, lack, depression, anxiety can be part of what's programmed in the mind, and it is then correlating to how the body acts, how it feels, how it responds, and it starts to agree. Okay, well, let me start breaking down. If you believe that, then here it comes, the body is manifesting that. And so with this mind-body connection, we also want the mind to be believing, feeling, and knowing that vibrant health is possible, joy is possible, and inevitable, and my birthright. And so part of that mind-body connection will be breaking some of those old patterns. This is where I love Joe Dispenza's work around what I call quantum manifestation, is to rewrite those neural patterns that have been so ingrained in there. But we do have neural elasticity in the brain. We can rewrite those.
Like a sponge that you can literally fill with anything.
Right.
Our words are so powerful, and
Thoughts.
that's another thing that we didn't really touch on, but words manifest. Words have a vibration. Words will penetrate every part of your being and other people, right? So you have to make sure you're not spewing, to other people, but really just focusing on your thoughts, catching them, asking yourself, is this true? Letting them go, and really just practicing those high vibe words and situations that you're putting yourself in.
Which takes becoming aware of what is that inner dialogue saying, and catching that says, is that a thought that is creating anxiety in my body? Because then it is accelerating disease. And is this thought or this belief that I keep repeating of vibrant health and longevity, then is it creating peace and harmony in my body? And whether it's about my weight, about my looks, any of that says I'm beautiful, even if I want to become healthier or drop a few pounds or any of that says I love myself where I am.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with being fit and fabulous. Right. But it's coming from a place of being healthy rather than vanity.
From fear.
And
that, that's how I really view exercise now. Moving the body, moving energy, as if I want to do that every day to move the energy, but I never want it to come from a place of fear that I ate too much the night before and I have to burn off X amount of calories.
That punishment.
Exactly. I mean, it's changing your mindset again. Like, that did not happen for me overnight. Neither did not counting calories anymore. But I'm here, and I'm in such a great place of alignment and just feeling in flow and feeling good that it's possible for everybody. It's possible for everyone. As long as you practice, you keep up the habits, you create the boundaries, you put in the work. It's not hard work, but it's time. There we go. It's time, not work.
It's time, and it's an investment in loving yourself. Is that just like we say with exercise is if I understand that moving oxygen to my cells is how I love myself, well, then it becomes an act of love rather than a penance. Or I have to do this to get into a bathing suit, or receive the external validation from other people, or feel comfortable in being in a bathing suit in front of other people, or whatever it is. And the mind and the heart and the body are connected in, I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because I want to continue to feel fabulous decades from now. I'm doing this because I'm doing yoga because I love my joints, and I want to circulate those that bring nutrients into places that don't really get blood flow unless I move the body, and I'm eating this so that it brings minerals to my bones and to my glands that help me balance hormones and all the brain chemicals. So this has just been awesome. I just love it.
Go on and on and on.
We could. Which we will. We'll definitely have you back again. So I would love to know, like, what any other pearls that you want to share with our audience. Any other pearls that you have that you think would be really valuable?
Yeah. I would say trust yourself. Just the guidance that you're getting. Trust that it is from a higher, from source, from universe, whatever you want to call it. and really just sit with that. Like, what is the guidance that you're getting over and over, and really just help to integrate that into you, and just pay attention, to your surroundings, to your body, and ask yourself, check in. Like you said, if you have to put a reminder in your phone 3 times a day, that's okay.
Right.
I do that too, where I have to say, all right, where are we at? Where are we at right now? What do I need? And it's going to change day to day. So not getting so routine, that's a whole other topic, but not getting so regimented, again, the masculine, the box, and asking yourself, what do I need in this moment? And
I think that having the courage to be honest about that.
Yes.
Because sometimes we will have had I call it a dance. Maybe it's an addiction. A dance. It's a relationship with a substance or a food or a lifestyle habit or happy hour on Fridays, wine after work. Sometimes we can be in a habit that is just so kind of ingrained in what we do that we don't realize that it's become unhealthy, or maybe it doesn't serve us any longer, and the body's saying, hey, you've been kind of overdosing it with alcohol, or you've been kind of too much with the sugar, or maybe not enough with exercise, and the body's talking. is to be gentle, but also honest with, maybe sugar isn't the best for me anymore. Maybe maybe I need to back off on substances that are stimulating the adrenals because I'm already in adrenal fatigue and overload. Maybe I could back off the stimulants. And I know that so many of these, because there is an emotional pain or fear, we've leaned on these substances to feel good. And I just invite gentle, compassionate, but also honesty that says, have I created a codependency with this substance or this lifestyle habit or Netflix till 2 a.m. Because I'm lonely or sad or I'm stressed and I'm reaching for this thing or this person or this habit or this lifestyle that is actually hurting me. And to be gently honest about that, and then slowly starting making the steps that how can I bring in something to replace sugar. And I've been doing that. That's been a deep one for me, honestly. I think that was my first addiction, was to sugar as a kid, and I remember just hoarding the sugar and hiding it under my bed. Like, don't find my stash. If like when my older brother or sister found my stash, I'd probably kill them.
Right,
seriously, like, don't take my stash. And I realized, oh my God, I'm an addict at 12.
There's addicts for everything.
I know, right? True. And I realized that who am I judging somebody else for their addiction to alcohol or heroin or pornography or any of it? Who am I to judge when, like, this is just a more socially acceptable one and it's socially invasive, that is sugar? And I realized, wow, in my life, as I give myself permission to look at, why have I gone to sugar? It's because I was low in energy, because I was lonely, because I was sad.
What you're not expressing.
What I'm not expressing. And it was a treat when other things were a real challenge in life. It was like, oh, I'm going to go to this to get a treat because I'm feeling overworked or stressed. And it became, woven into the healthy ways to have a treat or something like that. Like my grandmother's.
You justify it.
Oh my gosh, like my grandmother's carrot cake. Like, there's nothing more nourishing for my soul is her love through the form of that. And when I've been peeling back the layers of it, Taylor, I'm super honest that I'm still dancing with that, and how deeply entrenched it has been with my physiology, and how that has affected over time inflammation. It's affected hormones, it's amplified adrenal fatigue and pain and inflammation in the body. It has been invasive in every area of my physiology, and I'm really still working it out. And at different times, I'll go long times without engaging in sugar, and then I'll look at, wow, why do I want to reach for it right now? And the real work, I think, is looking at, why do what's behind the claw? Whether that's for a glass of wine, or whether that's for a bong hit, or whether that's for potato chips, or a steak, or
everything,
sex,
yeah.
or what, money, whatever it is. And I think in healing the mind, body, and the emotional connection is to just kind of be with the cravings, because we can say, oh, just quit that sugar, or just quit that smoking, or just quit that thing, and it's like, unless we're looking at the emotional components behind it and we're unraveling that, of like, how can I be at peace without reaching for this thing, and what am I really needing right now, and how can I put something else in its place that's healthier?
That one's huge. And I just love that you said honesty, because it's getting honest and then it's taking action. Right? And then asking yourself, okay, if I do this thing that is not serving me and I continue to do it for 5 years, where will I be
What's
then?
the end game?
Where will I be? And yes, you'll have these little hiccups along the way, but if you just say, screw it, and just ignore it, and just say, I'm just going to live my life the way I want to, you may get that satisfaction in the moment, 15 minutes, but then long term, your life won't be as amazing as it could be. And that, I'm all for, I don't love the term balance, but I do love that when I'm feeling to have something, I have it. I don't judge myself about it.
No guilt or shame.
No guilt or shame. And that's the number one thing. And I love that you said that, because I had to remind myself, I've programmed myself to not have those feelings, that if I choose to do this one thing, whatever it may be, I'm not going to allow myself to have any guilt or any shame afterwards, because it's a useless emotion.
Right.
It's
It only makes it worse.
Right.
Like, have the treat, and be accountable. That says, if it's gotten to the point where it's out of balance and hurting myself, I get to look at what is the long game here, and I can indulge in the sugar right in this moment. And where is that stealing energy? Where is it stealing vitality from my body? And I actually, in my visualization for my optimal longevity, is seeing myself with my grandchildren. I don't have grandchildren.
They're coming.
They're not too early, kids.
Pump the brakes.
We'll just pump the brakes. But it is like, I want to be able to be that vital grandmother who is fit
running
and fabulous and
them,
running and able to lift them up and hike and play and camp and run and swim. And I don't want to rob myself of the memories with my future loved ones either, because I've given way to the short-term indulgences and let them run my life and actually steal from my future. I know. And like, when I have a vision of my long-term vibrant health that helps me navigate the addictions that are approaching me in everyday life, when there's an emotional trigger, it's like, oh, I want sugar, or somebody else might want alcohol or whatever, that is to say, what is this really about, and what's the long game? Because that'll help me be able to access, no, I'm going to put a pause on this, and I'm going to actually feel this, and I'd rather have this other thing down the line than this right now.
That is so good. And that's the process I've had to go, and I'm still going through, right? I mean, we're all working on something, and that's why I say the pedestal thing, because that is the biggest disservice anyone can do ever, is say, well, that person has it together and has always had it together. That's actually not true.
No, I certainly don't. I am a total work in progress. You and I both do the cha-cha, where like, ooh, we got this, moving forward, whoops, fell back. And it's like, we have to laugh about it, because I'm certainly not gonna kick myself. I've done that before. You've done it before. We just add guilt and shame. So this has just been so delicious, and I know so valuable for the people listening and watching. Your authenticity, your story around the challenges you've had, and what you've been doing to help your clients and yourself navigate this, so that there is more of a mind-body connection for thriving health and vitality. And so tell the audience where they can find more about you and your amazing offerings.
Yeah. So my website is innergoddesshealth.com, and we were speaking of heart coherence. I actually have a visualization where you literally connect to your heart, and your heart is so much more powerful than your brain. So this is a really good one, and that is yours free if you choose to download that on my website.
So they go to your website to do that, and we'll have your website in the show notes for sure. So, and you also have a fabulous podcast.
I do have a podcast.
Tell us about your podcast, sister.
Can't forget about that. So, in case you didn't notice, I am huge on really helping women to increase their vibration. So my podcast is called Vibe Higher, and you can find that on iTunes. Recently launched in August. So it's been a baby of mine and super passionate about it. And I would really love it for everyone to check that out.
Yes, definitely. She's got some great content. I've been listening to the content, and thank you for bringing your voice out. So Vibe Higher.
Vibe Higher.
And so we'll have that also. We'll have the link to your podcast in there as well. And I love what you're doing. I really love what you're doing. And so many people can benefit from this, not just women, but also men, because they're dealing with a lot of the same issues.
It's universal.
It is.
It really is, yeah.
So fantastic. Congratulations with those things that you are birthing. And also, I would love to also offer a guided visualization, a free gift for those of you still listening and watching. And this is going to be a guided visualization that helps you heal the cells in the body that are traumatized, that are overworked, that are needing detoxification or needing healing, any unhappy cells. And so we're going to actually do a beautiful guided visualization to heal the cells in the body. So I think you're going to love that. The link is going to be in the show notes. And also, because we talked so much about meditation, I want to give you 25% off my online course that is super simple meditation tips. And these are for beginners and more advanced meditators, because the tips in there will help anybody on the process. So if you've never done meditation before, these tips are super helpful, and they'll help you either start a healing, a meditation practice, or learn how to deepen your current meditation practice. So check out those gifts, and please, it is my passion to explore these kind of deep, inspiring, raw, authentic conversations with people that are experts in their field. If you loved or valued this episode with our beautiful Taylor Stone, please like it. Please share it with somebody else that you think might benefit from it. And also, please give us a review so that we know how we're doing. I love to know your opinions and thoughts, and please subscribe, because if you loved this, there's more coming. And when you subscribe, you'll be notified when a new episode is live. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, my sweet sister.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it again right now.
Yes, right? And so look at this beautiful goddess. Don't you love everything that she shared with us today? Really valuable, and thank you and honor you for everything that you're bringing out to help women and others really shine their light.
Thank you.
All right, so beautiful angels, thank you so much for your time. We always value your choice in spending time with us, and thank you for joining the Shamangelic Healing podcast. So many blessings, and we hope these tips will help you balance and connect your mind, body, heart, and soul.